I'm Tom Layson, and this is a Northwest Now Extra. Following a firestorm of opposition, Northwest Innovation Works, which is a consortium of Chinese government and business interests, paused its effort to site a massive methanol plant on 125 acres of the Tacoma Tide Flats, with plans to restart the application process after doing more public outreach. Decades after the ASARCO stack fell, people are now asking whether helping the Chinese make low-cost plastic to sell back to us and fill local warehouses is a good idea.
No methanol! No methanol! Enough is enough! Tacoma's rising up!
The opposition came early, and it was hard for the plant's usual economic development advocates to miss. While recent public hearings included a quiet effort to educate, more than 1,000 people came, mostly to voice opposition.
Why would we want this generation's ASARCO to be this plant? If we now build the largest methane plant in the world in downtown Tacoma, forget about hotels, forget about tourism, forget about the reputation of our town, because it's going to be nothing. No one's going to want to come here at all.
So why all the concern? A News Tribune analysis indicates the plant will store about 300,000 tons of methanol in the tank farm at any given time, with little data about the fire or explosion risks yet revealed. The gas-to-methanol conversion process will require 184 billion cubic feet of fracked natural gas every year, 400 megawatts of power and 10 million gallons of water per day, and 50 to 80 additional cargo ship trips per year. In addition to the 7 million annual tons of methanol, the plant will also produce a so far unknown amount of greenhouse gas emissions and 1.4 million gallons of wastewater. Proponents say the process at the Tacoma plant will be world-leading, more efficient than any other, comply with Washington's strict regulations, and ultimately be better than having the Chinese burn coal to make plastic. But at the Progressive Sightline Institute in Seattle, analysts like Eric DePlace say while that sounds good, Northwest Innovation Works has never really built anything, and he questions any green claim when it comes to a petrochemical plant.
Well, there's an interesting argument about whether this is a better alternative than some other dirtier alternative, but I don't think we have to accept that premise. I don't think we have to accept the premise that it's our role to help make China a low-cost producer of plastics. That's not the future that I have envisioned for this region. I don't think it's the future that most people in Tacoma have envisioned for this region. But even if we buy the argument, even if we accept their argument, we still don't have any evidence to support it. I mean, they have done nothing to bring forward any piece of economic analysis, even a napkin sketch that actually shows that this is true. So, we're asked to believe this sort of theory they've spun out, but there's nothing backing it up whatsoever. And it's not for lack of asking. I have tried over and over again with the governor's office, with the project backers, and so far they have produced the sound of crickets.
Looking out from across Commencement Bay, it's not hard to see that a good chunk of northeast Tacoma sits on the plateau above the proposed site. This is where a lot of the concern resides for a variety of reasons. Becky McIntyre says she just started to learn about the methanol plant.
Well, I am concerned, and I've heard some news about it, and I'm just not happy with the thought of something like that being down there. I know there's a lot of issues about it, and I haven't had a chance to read up on all of them, but and go to the meetings because I work. But yeah, I'm concerned.
Homes situated right on the ridge have a spectacular view of the ship traffic in Commencement Bay and all the action around the port. But Len Randall says that may now become a liability since he's considering downsizing and selling.
Well, I'm 83 years old, and it's kind of hard to plan on moving, but common sense would tell you if they're going to build that plant to get out of the neighborhood.
And the question is, can you do that?
Well, that's it. The price will go down to move anything at this time while it's up in the air.
I talked with two homeowners who did not want to appear on camera who told me they are selling this spring because of the proposed plant. Another homeowner who did speak with me is Ann Loxon in Point Woodworth Estates. Google Maps tells her she's just a half mile from the proposed plant, and for now, she has more questions than answers.
I think for us, we're very concerned because we're so close, and from a safety standpoint, yes, definitely. In the event of an explosion, or if there was any kind of a natural disaster happen, like an earthquake or a lahar, it's a very vulnerable spot down there in the port, and we're right on a bluff overlooking it.
So while neighbors work to get information and get organized, back at Sightline I asked Eric DePlace if the plant is as good as it claims to be, state-of-the-art and producing methanol with less gas and water than existing plants, whether considering its scale, if the impacts can be mitigated sufficiently to make it an appropriate use of industrial land that is surrounded by a city.
I think not, ultimately, because when you're looking at a project of this size, the fundamentals really can't be changed. You're going to use a tremendous amount of natural gas that's going to be brought in by a new pipeline. You're going to use a tremendous amount of water that's going to come out of a local water source, probably the Green River. And you're going to, by necessity, have some wastewater and air pollution impacts. And there's nothing really you can do with those. You can dress it up in some marketing, but you can't really solve the fundamental problem.
To see our full discussion about the proposed Tacoma methanol plant, be sure to look in the Northwest Now section of kbtc.org. Northwest Now airs Friday nights at 7:30 right here on KBTC, and be sure to look for more stories like this one by following us on Facebook and Twitter at Northwest Now.